visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to full screen now. So if you recall, in the last class, we have been discussing a very beautiful process which can give a complete stress-free and crack-free surface after machining. Okay, so that is Unique have a lot of application potentials, particularly in the aerospace industries. So the characteristics wise, I said ECM, the mechanical properties, it does not depend upon the mechanical properties of the material like hardness and so on. Okay. So any hard materials, any electrical conductive, for that matter, any metal is electrically conductive. So all can be machined. Okay, metals and its and their alloys. Secondly, also we have seen the through ECM, the sharp corners. Sharp corners are difficult to machine and maintain during machining because always within the electrolyte, local machining is dependent upon the local current density, but there is always a stray current effect. Okay, if you recall, I said like here somewhere here, if this is an electrode and this bottom yellow line is the top surface of the job, the red lines are electric field which will be distributed. So because of the stray current effect, only under the footprint, most of the material will be removed, but little away from the footprint also things will get removed, so that sharp corners will be difficult to maintain. Now, accuracy of ECM will be depending upon shape and dimensions of the machining workpiece, and approximately it is something between 50 micron to 300 micron. Okay, but if you use pulse power supply, that accuracy improves. Okay, and specific energy, of course, specific energy consumption wise, it is relatively it will consume higher energy because you need to spend energy for removing every bit of material, molecule by molecule you are removing materials, so it will be energy requirement wise it is high. Now friends, we'll see you what is the different criteria of the tool design in ECM. Tool design. Okay, now tool design, if you see, apart from the, because we know whenever you want to make a tool, the complementary shape has to be make a job, the complementary shape has to be created on the tool. But apart from that, there are few other considerations while fabricating the tool for electrochemical machining. Okay, so these considerations will be based upon the how the incoming electrolyte flows through the electrolyte and eventually fills up the inter-electrode gap. Like, okay, this is one thing. Second thing is the insulation. We'll discuss about this. Third thing is the strength of the electrolyte. Like you may be using a very fine electrode, but within that things, you have to pass the electrolyte, because typically centrally, if this is the tool with this pan, centrally there is a hole which has been created through the electrolyte is flowing. Now think of a situation, this electrolyte dimension is small. That case, the walls are also thinner and it will bulge. Okay, so this kind of considerations we have to give. We have to give sufficient wall strength to the electrode that we fabricate, and also we have to consider the fixing arrangement. Say for example, here although we are centrally allowing the electrolyte to flow, and this is the job and this is the tool. Okay, and central hole through that incoming electrolyte is flowing and going, so it can either go up through this in the this is the inter-electrode gap. Okay, so it will flow either this way or this way. But you see here we are not making things in the very sharp, we are putting some curvature. Okay, so electrolyte flow, we have to ensure it flows in such a manner so as to avoid, say, local stagnation is not there. Stagnation of electrolyte means there the reaction products will stagnate, accumulate. Okay, then local vortex may not be created. Okay, that may change the electrolyte property locally, or say some kind of a activations, local activations, not activations, sorry, it is cavitations. So this kind of situation should not happen. Okay, here electrolyte is not reaching at all. Okay, so this phenomena, in order to ensure that it flows smoothly, sharp corners will be avoided, and always we give a smooth flow path. And to ensure this, typically we give a corner radius of sharp corners something between 0.07 to 0.7 to 0.8 millimeter. Okay. Now, what about insulations? See, for example, if you use, suppose you are using a die sinking ECM, means tool out of this initial rectangular block of job, tool is gradually machining, means it is gradually sinking and creating this cavity. The question is there, if this is there, with passage of time, should we get a straight face on the job? There will be little side machining. It may not be so much, at least it is shown in the picture. But of course, at any point of time, there is little more gap than the dimension of the tool as it goes down. But as the tool goes down, the side walls are also conductive. Okay, and because of that, there will be some side machining. So if you consider any portions of the job, say for example, top portions, we have to look how much it has been exposed to the side, for how long. If it is a half an hour, side machining will be more. If it is a 15 minutes, side machining will be relatively lesser. If it is just few minutes, side machining will be very less. So this way, eventually with time, we may not get a complete vertical profile like this. Rather, we'll get a parabolic profile, because it will not be linear. Because why? Because with time, if the distance increases, we have seen the rate of machining also reduces exponentially. Okay, so this kind of situations will happen. So here, stray machining effect without side insulation of the tool. It is just a say copper or some metallic tool, okay, or a brass, something like that. But what will happen the moment we use and try to insulate the side? Sometimes this vertical maintaining verticality of the job is very important, because other extra overcut can be controlled. Means if it is a overcut of say 100 micron in the both the directions, that the tool size can be reduced by 100 micron on the both sides, so that on the job exact dimensions can be achieved. But if you get such a profile, this is not acceptable and it's very difficult to control. So what do? We insulate the side with some passivatic film or some insulating coating. We can do it. Okay, so you see here the sides are completely insulated and only the bottom face is exposed. This is made of a metal, and inside we have allowed the electrolyte to flow. So electrolyte is entering through this. It is not seen over here. It will enter, it will come out like this, and it will come out either through this or it will come out through this. So in this case, there is no side machining. So my problem of maintaining verticality is no longer there, and we get just a surface like this. Okay, so this kind of issues will come in tool design, and such solution can be made like this. Okay. Now another phase, because when you have a inclined phase, then only another situations may come. Okay, but before that, let me take up a situations where within the interelectrode gap, the properties of the electrolyte may change. Okay, say for example, if we take a very simple situations, this is my tool and this is my job. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So this is tool, this is job, and so tool is, and this is the footprint, and this is portion of the job is will be machined with time. There is a vertical feeding of the tool very slowly, but in coordination, how quickly the job is getting, so that a constant inter-electrode gap is maintained in any case. Now friends, electrolyte is flowing in this case. So this is the inside and this is the electrolyte out. Now what will happen? Because of the ECM is a high current process, low voltage, high current process. Sometimes the current values in the machine will go big impellers and all, say several thousand amperes, pretty high current. So, and gap is very small. Inter-electrode gap is very small. It is sub-millimeter gap. Okay. So because of this such a high current, there will be joules heating. The electrolyte will get heated up. Lot of temperature because of the associated resistance and high current. It will be proportional to the I square. So what will happen with time? This is the entry time, this is the exit time. It will take finite time. By the time entry temperature and exit temperature, these are two different temperature. Because electrolyte coming out from here, it will get filtered out in a centrifuge so that clean electrolyte after filtering, okay, will pass through some heat exchanger or a chiller so that it can come back to the room temperature. Because heated electrolyte we do not want, it will have some problem. But you see, within the entry and exit there will be some temperature difference, and which is very difficult to control and make it uniform. Not possible. So question is there, from here to here, due to the increase in temperature, will there be any change in the conductivity of the electrolyte? Answer is yes. Because if you see, this temperature is more or less, we can assume they may vary linearly with distance. If this is 0 and this is x at any point from this left to right, so temperature will rise, and it will rise at the outlet by a temperature of delta theta. Now, resistivity of the electrolyte along its flow path, if we denote resistivity by gamma, okay, so gamma x equal to resistivity at the inlet into 1 minus alpha into delta theta x. That is how, if the temperature increases, resistivity gets reduced. Okay, so where gamma x is the resistivity at a distance x from the inlet, delta theta x is theta x, means temperature of the electrolyte at distance theta x and inlet temperature. So this is delta theta x, and alpha is the coefficient of resistivity decrease per unit rise in the temperature. So how much is that? So we have seen temperature increases linearly with the value of the electrolyte conductivity. So if this is true, that means here my because of the high resistance, my machining current value will be low. Whereas from the right hand side, because of the low resistance, current value will be high. So if this is my job profile, I cannot expect we can maintain the equidistance from the job, means horizontal nature of the machine job will not be there. It will be slope like this. Okay, this will happen. So although we are expecting out of this complementary shape, I can get a flat job, but I may not eventually get it. So what I have to do it in the tool while designing the tool, this we have to compensate for this change. Means if we make somewhere the modified tool like this, so the new tool is from here like this dotted line. Okay, and if you try to machine and if you try to match the profile, probably at some profile like this, we'll be able to generate a flat surface on the job so that the effect of the temperature can be compensated. Okay, so other than effect of temperature, there are other what you call aspects of the tool within the inter-electrode gap. Like, you know, between the tool and the job, the hydrogen gas will come out as a reaction product. Okay, if you look at back the effect of the electrolysis, hydrogen gas, production of hydrogen gas as the cathode is a byproduct, this particular case. So what will happen? This gas will gradually line up over here. Okay, and they will create a blanket of hydrogen bubbles on the cathode surface. Okay, now it may so happen because electrolyte is entering from left and exiting through the right, it is entering at a normally at a high pressure, and because of the high pressure, some of these gas bubbles on the cathode, which surrounds the cathode surface over here, creates a blanket, gets drifted from here, gets shifted. Okay, so that distribution of these hydrogen bubbles across the gap will not be uniform. From left side, it will be lesser compared to those on the right hand side. Okay, gas bubbles, hydrogen gas bubbles. So as a result of which, resistivity of the electrolyte, okay, on the left and right will be different. Okay, so how the variation of gas bubble concentration is going to affect? Because we know the resistivity of electrolyte in its direction of flow is going to change like this. Gamma x, okay, at a distance gamma at a distance x from the inlet will be a gamma value at the inlet into 1 plus beta x, where beta is the coefficient of resistivity increase, okay, per unit distance due to the hydrogen gas bubbles presence. Okay, so resistance is increasing. So what will happen if the flat profile, and initially we start with a these two inter-electrode, these two flat surfaces are equidistant from each other, but with passage of time, as machining goes on the left side, because of the higher current, there will be more amount of machining. Is it not? In the center, there will be relatively lesser amount, and on the extreme right, where the gas bubbles are more, okay, and where they are accumulating, there will be lesser amount of gas. So that the effect with a unmodified tool, the resultant job profile may be somewhere like this, somehow like this. Okay, so what we have to do it in order to get, because we desire to get a flat surface on the job, okay, like this. So what I have to do it? I have to make some modification on the tool. Means here I make the tool like this dotted path. Okay, so after this, if we go like this, so machining, because of this effect of the gas bubbles and this induced larger distance on the left hand side, those two will compensate, nullify each other, and you can get a flat surface, horizontal flat surface on the job like this. Okay, so this is something we have to do it depending upon the situations that may happen, because there is no straightforward rule. Because what could be the beta value? Beta value again depends upon the rate of your bubble generations, which are dependent upon the machining rate, and how much they distributed, that would depend upon the incoming your electrolyte pressure, how much these bubbles get drifted from these places. so that local concentration can be changed. So situation to situations, it will vary. So depending upon the machine settings, this value of the beta may change. And this with experimental some experience you can gather and put them in the equations. Accordingly, you can do these modifications. Okay. Now the third situations which I will be discussing is the variation of sludge concentration. What is sludge? Sludge is the insoluble reaction products which settle down. Like for ferrous materials, when you use a copper tool, ferrous materials and sodium chloride electrolyte, aqueous solution. Okay, what will happen? We have know the ferric hydroxides, which are very dark brown in color, in very fine particles they will settle in. Okay, they will get produced eventually, but because of their insolubility in the solution, they will get settled down. So a thin muddy kind of what you call things will get settled down at the bottom on the job surface. So unless how they are cleaned, with the incoming clean electrolyte continuously flush them away, remove them, and they get in the electrolyte circuit they get filtered somewhere, so that again clean they remain. What will happen? They may change the resistivity of the electrolyte. Now look friends, at the inlet and outlet, because of the here to here the same electrolyte will take some finite time to pass. By the time some reaction will happen, so the concentration of the reaction products from the left and right, these two are across the gap is not uniform. On the right hand side there will be more amount of sludge that is present, as a result of which the conductivity will change. Okay, the resistivity of the electrolyte across the gap, say like gamma x will be gamma I, that inlet resistivity, into 1 plus gamma small gamma into x is the distance. So sludge concentration increases along the flow directions, and gamma is the fraction by which the resistivity increases due to sludge concentration per unit distance. Okay. So here we understand because of the sludge concentration, exit side the sludge is more. So if we try to machine with this blackish, the unmodified tool, what will happen? Unmodified tool, the job profile here, there's on the left hand side there will be more amount of machining, on the right hand side there will be lesser amount of machining. You get a profile like this. Agreed? Yes. So if we want to make the job flat in anticipation that such things will happen, we modify the tool like this dotted line. Now you machine with this tool, modified tool. So what is going to happen? Now because of the increasing distance, proportionally we make sure the job is also going to be larger distance. So machining will be lesser on here, whereas this side the distance is closer, machining will be almost at par with that. So somehow we have to balance these two so that this job surface we get with the modified tool at a flat horizontal job surface, we are eventually able to get it. So this is some kind of things with all the effects individually I'm talked about it. They have to be considered and corresponding change has to be done in the tool. Okay. Now friends, I will be talking about the effect of inclination variations on the tool surface. Say tool may not be always a flat horizontal flat surface. Bottom surface of the tool always may not be like that. It may have a combination of several flat profiles which are not which are inclined to the horizontal surface, or sometimes it may having a curvilinear curve profile. It may so happen. So what I am going to show over here, what is going to be the effect? Suppose this is the tool and this is the job. Okay. And here the tool is getting down in coordination with the rate of machining. Okay. So this is my inter-electrode gap. But this inter-electrode gap, you see here, this face is inclined with an angle of alpha. Okay. So this angle is alpha and this angle is gamma. So the two surfaces of the tool inclined at angle alpha and gamma with the downward feed directions, which is S. Downward feed direction in this direction tool, that is S. Now because of that, okay, different inclinations, okay, these two surfaces, this, okay, like this is one surface and other surface is, sorry, sir, one surface and other surface, let me pick up a color, other surface, and other surface is this one. Okay, now they will produce unequal inter-electrode gap. Okay, why? Because their approach rates are different. Approach rates of the tool to the two inclined surfaces are different, because the downward direction is S, but considering the inclinations, their approach rates are different. So what will happen? Let us assume this unequal inter-electrode gaps are H, and other case it is Y. Okay, this is one, this is one. Now the machining on surface inclined at alpha, okay, gamma, okay, will be more as compared to the other, because whichever will approach first, if you recall the MRR equations, okay, it is proportional to that. Okay, it is some constant divided by inter-electrode gap HE. HE is the equilibrium gap. HE is equal to some constant, okay, which will fixed upon the material and machining setting parameters, constant C by S. So S is the feed rate. So it is inversely proportional to the feed rate. Okay, so this is how it will happen, and they will produce the machining rate will have different values. Now here, if you see the previous equations from go to the previous slide. Here, what will happen? Here, what we have done? We have done two small triangle. See, this is H, and the vertically down, say in time dt. Dt is a small time. Okay, how much this is moving vertical directions? It is feed rate into dt. So this component is S into dt. Okay, this angle is alpha. So this distance is how much? This will be dh. Actual machining on this surface. Okay, gradually this is inclined surface. This is dh, delta h, whatever you call it. Whereas for this, okay, this is again S into dc. Okay, and this is alpha. Okay, or this will be sorry, this is gamma. This is wrongly written. This is gamma. Okay, this we have to correct, and this is gamma. So this will be uh, proportionally. This will change, which will depend upon these values. Okay, so here what we can see over here, we can find out some trigonometric reactions, relations, and here this z. What is z? Okay, z is some compensation we give, means we give additional gap over here, this modified tool. Okay, so that this kind of is this additional x amount of compensation we give on these things, so that the machining rate, because of the larger inter-electrode gap, this they two become equal. Okay, now finding out some trigonometric relations. Okay, we can say z by h, this ratio, equal to sine alpha divided by sine gamma. What is over here? You can easily find out what is the relation between s dt. Okay, so dh we can find in terms of alpha and this value s dt, and that also we can, this s dt and this we can equate. So from there we will be able to get this relationship. So we'll see the z value. Z is coming, okay, in terms of, you just try doing your this exercise, h into cosec gamma into sine alpha. Okay, so hence the necessary corrections over here, okay, can be written from like x. What is x? X equal to z minus 1. So x will be something like sorry, z minus y, which we will be able to eventually put h equal to cosec gamma minus sine cosec gamma into sine alpha minus cosec alpha into sine gamma. So this you will be easily able to find out trigonometrically and able to solve these things. Okay, and when alpha equal to 90 degree, that means the first surface is perpendicular to the feed directions, we will be able to show that x will be h into cosec gamma minus sine gamma. This will be able to show it. Okay. So this is how compensation can be done. Sorry. Just a minute. So this compensation can be done so that by increasing the distance, these two surfaces machining rate can be changed, and we can maintain that thing. Okay, this we have to do it. So tool design, this kind of situations have this. Say suppose whenever you have a continuously curved surface, think of a situations. Okay, so curved surface may be considered to be have a number of small fragments, and at each fragments the inclination is continuously changing. So there you can think of having this kind of compensation. So actual, if you see the for a curved surface, the tool and the job, they, although we are telling these two will be just complementary to each other, but in order to maintain that profile exactly, these two surfaces, there will be slight deviations, because on the tool side some compensations because of the changing inclinations have to be given. Okay, so this you have to keep it in mind. Now, surface finish issues. In ECM, what will be the surface finish issues? See, ECM, typically it is a atomic level dissolution process because material is dissolved electrochemically through the electrolyte by dissociation. Either at the anode, material get dissolved. So ideally, since it is an atomic level dissolution, finish should be obviously atomic level, at least nano kind of nano finish will be there, but in practice, you don't get such kind of finish. For ECM, typically the finish will be something between around 1 micron, 2 micron or so. Okay, but nano level finishing is not possible. What happens, say many times we are machining some alloys. Okay, and for alloy, alloy is consisting of different alloying elements, and these alloying elements, each constituency is having different atomic weight, different valency of dissolutions, so their electrochemical equivalents are different. So although you are machining the alloy at a constant, maybe constant voltage or constant current, but practically what will happen? This response to these alloying elements to the given conditions are different. So local material removal rate may change. So for alloy, the surface finish will be little PT kind of things. Okay, so this kind of pits, local pits may be generated, and such kind of situations, although it is a completely solid solution, homogeneous solid solution, but it may not happen because alloying elements may happen, dissolve at the different rates. Second issue, just think of a even pure this thing. See, when it solidifies, they will solidify as some grains, because during solidification, the different pocket solidification will start, and the grain size will eventually depend upon the local solidification rates. So here, this is the grain boundary. Okay, and these are the individual grains. When you see this a metal or alloy, polish it, etch it, and look under the microscope, we'll get such kind of picture. Okay, so here what may happen, the dissolution wise, the grains, okay, at the grain boundary and the core, the machining rates may be different. And typically these grains are not obviously nanometer size, they are grains are typically of some micron size. So obviously such dissimilarity in machining rate happens at the grain boundary as well as in the grain body. What is going to happen? The machining surface resulting surface finish may not be so good. Okay, certain things may be the orientation of the crystal planes, because the when we have a something like a machine, we can have different crystal planes, okay, by which they get solidified. Say for okay, so either it may be some crystal planes, 111 planes, 100 planes, something like that. And because of this orientation of the crystal planes with respect to the machining directions, the vertical plane I'm talking about, so the different crystal planes have different machining rates, leading to some change in the surface properties, surface texture, surface finish. And friends, many times we may have a material which not exactly metal or alloys, we can have a composite. Say for example, we can have something like a carbides. Carbides also can be used for what? Carbides are used for making strong, say different type of dyes. Okay, even tools, okay, forging dies, so or blanking dies, okay, so trimming dies. So these dies are typically carbide will is made of very hard materials. Okay, how do you manufacture? They are done by the powder metallurgy. See, you take some binder material which is typically a pure metal like cobalt or so, maybe 10-15%, 5 to 15%, 20% maximum. Remaining portions are there basically typically carbide particles, say tungsten carbide, wolfram carbide, titanium carbide, tantalum carbide. These are all hard particles, irregular in shape, fine, but okay, and they are basically called the reinforcements. So when you mix them in a mixture, okay, make it a more or less homogeneous mixture, powder mixture, and compact them, okay, by under pressure. This is going to create a grain compact. You sinter them, you get the composites, and this you give a particular shape to make your tool, make your die, something like that. Now, internally, when you look again by polishing and under microscope, you see you have these reinforcement particles. These are irregular shaped reinforcement particles. Okay, they will be there in this matrix, and they will be engulfed, surrounded by a liquid things with which will actually during the sintering process melts and engulf them from all sides. So upon solidification, it will look like this. So this is cobalt and these are the particles. Okay. Now what will happen? If you try to machine such a material, such a metal matrix, they are called metal matrix. Why? Because the matrix is made of a metal cobalt and these are the reinforcements. So they are called MMCs, metal matrix composites. So when you try to machine such a MMC in ECM process, what will happen? You see, out of this is not getting dissolved by the ECM process, whereas the binding material, the cobalt, okay, that will easily get dissolved over here, leaving apart these carbide particles. So how long they will leave apart? They will expose on the top. So unless on further dissolution, this portions also get machined. Okay. And eventually they will be machined from on sides and they will be loosened out and they will remove by flushing. So because of such kind of thing, when you machine by ECM, what will happen? Because of the size of the particles, reinforcement particles, eventually it will dictate the eventual finish. When they come out, emerge out and escape from this metal, that will leave out these craters. And that may smoothen out even further roading, but new particles will get exposed. So always again, the question, there is no question of having a submicron or nano level finish for ECM. So due to this, although ECM is a very good process, you can have a mirror like surface, but still surface finish is many cases is not that good. This kind of situations may happen. Okay. And sometimes we may have impurities in the metals. We can have defects in the metals, say non-soluble into impurities. Again, those also will contribute to the bad surface finish. Okay. Now, friends, what I'll do it. Now I will try to make some estimating the minimum flow rate of electrolyte which may be required in ECM process. Minimum rate of electrolyte. This is a very what you call rough estimate, just to give you some idea why maintaining a minimum flow rate in ECM is so important and have some estimation of it. Okay, what is happening? Look at the very simplified representation of the ECM process. Okay, this is my tool in a 3D thing. This is my tool. Okay, this is the tool. And what is the job? this is the job. Okay, and this is the inter-electrode gap. How much is the inter-electrode gap? It is H. And the tool size is L. Assume both tool and job are the same size, or even if the job is more, actually whatever in the under the footprint of the tool, that will get machined. And this is L into B. This is the size. Okay, and the tool is connected to the negative terminal and job is connected to the positive terminal of a DC power supply. Okay, and what is missing? The electrolyte has to be there. So within this, these two are actually flat surfaces. They are horizontal and these two plates are equidistant to each other. Okay, so all over the surface. The electrolyte is coming from the this side, it is entering, and this is the back side. This is how electrolyte is flowing. And it is flowing with a flow velocity of U. Electrolyte flow velocity. Now friends, electrolyte flows through a pair of parallel electrodes. Okay, so heat produced due to Joule's heating in the electrolyte, within the gap, due to the passage of current I, how much heat will be generated? It will be H will be, this is rate of generation of heat. It will be I square into resistance of the electrolyte. That is how, say, we can say so many joules will be generated. Okay, so this will be I square. Resistance is how much of the electrolyte? You understand? This is gamma is the resistivity of the electrolyte into the at equilibrium. This H, whatever the maybe gap setting as the H, after sometimes it will eventually it will take an equilibrium value that we denote by HE or equilibrium inter-electrode gap. So HE is basically only at the machining rate attains a stability and it continues to do machine at the same rate, maintaining the same gap. Okay, so resistance of the electrolyte is gamma into HE into A. Okay, A is the area of machining. So the I square RE, okay, it is if we convert joules to calorie, okay, so or rather calorie to joules, okay, so it will get 4.187, okay, into Q into Cp into theta 0 minus theta I. Theta O is the outlet temperature, not 0. Theta O is the outlet temperature and theta I is the inlet temperature. Okay, and Cp is the average specific heat of the electrolyte. And Q, what is Q? Q is the electrolyte flow rate. Okay, so that case, if the current density is Jc, denoted by Jc, the inter electrode current density. Jc is what? Jc is basically you divide the current I divided by machining area, which is A. Okay, so Jc is I by A. So the previous relationship I square into this thing resistance. Okay, so that means Jc square I square we can denote in as Jc square into A square. And resistance of the electrolyte is gamma into He divided by A. So this total is the amount of heat generated in the electrolyte due to the passage of current. And this we equate with the flow rate. Okay, because this heat is taken away by the electrolyte. So this is will be Q, that flow rate, into density. Okay, so this is mass flow rate into Cp into theta O minus theta Y. We are dealing in terms of joules. Okay, so for limiting case, what will happen? Suppose you do not, what will happen by that inlet and outlet? See, in the inlet side, electrolyte may be entering at the room temperature. But before its exit, just think of a large electrode. So by the time lot of heat might have been generated and outlet temperature may be much higher. So and it may be so high, it may start boiling. And if it start boiling, that may create other complications in the machining rate, other uncertainty in the machining rate. So we are trying to have a limiting case so that of limiting value of theta O, so that it should be can be close to theta B, but it cannot exist theta B. Theta B is basically boiling temperature of the electrolyte. Okay, if it is 100 degrees centigrade, maybe it can be around something around 95 degrees centigrade, 98 degrees centigrade, but it should not start boiling. So that way, we are assuming it is just the limiting case only. So Jc square becomes from this relationship, theta O we are replacing by theta B. Okay, so and remaining things come. So it is Q into rho into Cp into theta B minus theta Y E whole divided by He into A into gamma. So from here we can say the minimum flow rate of electrolyte to prevent boiling will be how much? From here, this is a limiting case of Q. How Q is related? Q is I square into gamma into He divided by A into rho into Cp into theta B minus theta Y. So we have now a term, the value of Q, which we put this limiting case, means this is the maximum temperature rise we may allow. If or rather maximum flow rate which we can minimum flow rate which we can have it. Okay, and if is less than this, probably this value will be okay, even smaller, means that means this value is going to be great problem. So think of the previous figure we have shown you in the previously. We have a rectangular set of electrodes, tool and the job. So in case of rectangular electrode pair and uniform electrolyte velocity U, how much is Q? Q will be how much? Q will be your L into B into U. So many, you can say meter cube per second or so, that will be Q. Okay, so U into B into He, that is the total flow rate, mass flow rate of that this thing, volumetric flow rate of the electrolyte. So U will be okay. How much will be U? It will be basically Q divided by B into He. So we will put the value of Q in this equation. Okay, so that U will be how much? U will be I square into gamma into 4.1 or 87 into A into rho E into theta B minus theta 1 into B. Okay, so if the V is the applied voltage in the circuit, okay, so I we can easily find out I is how much? V divided by, if we neglect the over voltages at the electrodes, so it will be just the V will be V divided by RE, that is the value of current. Okay, so in terms of other properties, it is V into A into gamma into He, which is nothing but V into the B electrode dimensions, area is machining area is B into L into gamma into He. So in terms, so we putting this value of I over here, rather I square, from this value we can find it out. So U we can see what should be my electrolyte flow rate. Okay, limiting case, minimum electrolyte flow rate to avoid boiling. Okay, So this is the value, V square into L into 4.187, because we are converting everything into joules per calorie in joules. So into gamma into H square into rho E into Cp into theta B minus theta Y. So this is, if we are able to find it out, we can say we will be able to stop or avoid boiling in the interelectrode gap. Okay. And typical value of Q in a machine will be, say, around 16 liters per 16 liters per minute per 100 ampere of the current that is flow. If it is a 500 watt machining current, then typically we can have a electrolyte flow rate, volumetric flow rate of around 80 liters per minute. But many a times what we have to do it, this is something electrolyte flow rate which can avoid boiling. By this calculation, we can have rough estimation what is the our requirement. Then put it into the your design things when you design, because many a times your flow may be restricted by the design constraint of the machine. This value maybe has come very high, which my machine hardware may not allow. Okay, it is some restriction. So that case, what will happen? The maximum permissible current cannot be done. Okay, so it is there. So this current, again, that case we have to restrict, knowing that I cannot exceed the, because of the design constraint, I cannot exceed the velocity above a certain value. Okay, so the maximum permissible current is dictated by the, now what is allowed. We have to restrict within that current value. So from that we can say, if this is the current, how much is the MRR? So if from the MRR, if it is a constant cross-section machining throughout the process with time, then we can say what is the feed rate. Okay, just divide the volumetric removal rate divided by your surface area. So that much we will able to calculate out. So maximum permissible feed rate also eventually may be calculated from here. And from there, obviously, if you know the feed rate, so HE is nothing but C divided by S. So maximum permissible feed rate, that also can be calculated out. Okay, so now comes the question, because we know the higher the feed rate, higher is the lower is the interelectrode gap, machining rate is higher. So you can maintain a very small interelectrode gap and go look for a higher machining rate. But that time I said there is a practical limitation, and this is the practical limitations. The smaller the gap, higher should be the electrolyte flow rate. Okay, but now two difficulties come. Within that smaller gap, electrolyte won't be able to flow at that high rate, and maybe your delivery pump also cannot deliver at that rate. So there is some design restrictions, hardware restrictions. So we have to limit ourselves to certain feed rate. We cannot increase to any extent. Okay, so that is how a limit to the maximum permissible feed rate in a machine, that will also be has to be considered. Okay, so friends, I'll just take just give you some 2-3 minutes breaks and we'll come back from there. Okay, just wait. So please join after 2-3 minutes. Okay. So now I will talk you how to, now onwards I'm going to talk about the how the small holes can be drilled in through electrochemical machining. That is comes under the special applications of the electrochemical machining. Last class I talked about the deburring process. Now how the small holes drilled in ECM process. With that I will conclude this chapter. Okay, just wait for after maybe 3-4 minutes break I'll give you. Okay. So coming to some special applications of ECM process. In fact, last class also we have discussed one or two. So today we'll discuss about the how to drill very small holes in the ECM process. Okay, this is what we would discuss today. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So some of the applications in this, say for example, is the fuel injectors. Okay, in an engine, automobile engine, you got to have fuel injectors. Okay, so it has to be at high pressure when the fuel increase because of the small orifice. So it will get atomized. Okay, like this. So it has to be really, really very small. Okay, this is how on the tip of it there will be a small hole which goes like and which comes through this thing. Now question is there, how to make such a fabricate create such a nozzle outlet diameter of around 100 micron, 0.1 millimeter. How do you make that thing? And it has to be consistent. Means if one part if it is like that, another part also it has to be 100 micron only. It should not deviate from that. Otherwise there could be inconsistency. Okay. So ECM, like some of the such fuel injectors, one of the leading manufacturer is Bosch. Bosch Germany is the leading manufacturer, and it may be having some 60-70% of the entire fuel injectors Bosch is manufacturing. So typically Bosch, of course it is a secret, they will not tell you, but typically they do it by electrochemical processes. So today we'll talk about how such small holes can be drawn by ECM process. Okay. Say as we have already discussed during design of tools for ECM, if you want to machine in conventional electrochemical drilling, what do you do it? This is your tool. Okay, this is your tool. This side of the tools, because it has to be done. So we have insulated. Had you not insulated it, the machining profile would have been somewhat like this green color thing. Okay, so in order to avoid them, we have only the frontal portions is machining that things, and we keep on creating the cravat so that even after the overcut, little overcut, you get a straight face like this. Okay, so and it is a hollow tube, means centrally there is a hole through is the electrolyte flows. The cathode penetrates the whole diameter is slightly greater because of the overcut, slightly greater than that of the outside cathode diameter. Okay, here because of the flow segregation, okay, segregation, what is happening here, you may bend this whole diameter. This portion is not centrally, there may remain an hump like this. So this is what we are mentioning here at central spike, which may not be. So after you machine, maybe probably again you have to use a second machine with a solid tool to machine out and level out these portions. Some another operation is required. So here by reversal of electrolyte flow, often the produced considerable improvement of the machining accuracy. What will happen? It goes and it flatten out this kind of spikes. This much, so much will not be happening like this. Okay, so this is we can do it by going reversal of electrolyte flow. But coming to the deep hole drilling, suppose a such kind of deep holes on a turbine blade, okay, component, it has to be like this. Okay, how do we, because this hole is small diameter but depth is high. So aspect ratio, depth by diameter, what is the ratio? Okay, 1 is to maybe 1 is to 25 or so. So how do you create such a long hole through the ECM process? Okay, so I'll talk you about one process, two processes. One is shape tube electrochemical machining. Okay, here we are doing, already you know, the side walls can be insulated. Okay, so here my tube is made of titanium. Okay, and this is insulated with some ceramic coating. There is no current charge can this is completely insulated. Okay, and here this is the tool. So here to here, this is whatever to unload, this will be the shape, and this is the job workpiece. Okay, and electrolyte will flow over here. Now here small diameter holes, something between 0.5 millimeter to 6.5 millimeter diameter holes in electrically conductive materials can be produced. Okay, the aspect ratio could be something around 1:100. 1 is the diameter and this is the length of the things, and it can produce round and shaped holes. Okay, so through this process we can create holes on the superalloys. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are using acid based electrolytes, like say around 10% of sulfuric acid. With that we give remaining as water, 90% water. Okay, so what we are doing normally when we go for a very deep hole, it's like this, high aspect ratio holes. As it machine, say sodium, why not sodium chloride solution, aqueous solution sodium chloride? Problem is that sodium chloride solution in a ferrous material is going to create our reaction products, which is insoluble, and that is removed during the flushing. But for such kind of deep hole operations, proper flushing, proper removal is really difficult. So we have to ensure something, the reaction products does not got stuck here, remains here. It is soluble in this electrolyte. Okay, so that if we can ensure by choosing a proper workpiece tool combinations and electrolyte selection, probably acid based electrolytes are best for these things, because which will where the reaction products are soluble, it gets dissolved. That's why we are using H2SO4, aqueous solution of H2SO4. And shape tube coated with it on exterior tube except the tip, means on the side it is tip, except on the tip remaining portions are coated with an insulation. Okay, and this is a low voltage process, something between 5 to 15 volt low voltage process. And at higher voltage, what may happen? We can get higher MRR, but the damage to the electrolyte coating may happen. Boiling, because of the relatively higher current, boiling of the electrolyte may start taking place, which we want to avoid. So we restrict within this voltage level. Okay. So applications of shape tube electrochemical machining. Okay. So one example I have given you, like a turbine blades on a rotor, you'll be having a n number of such blades will be there. All are having some profiles and like this. Okay, so this cooling holes has to be generated. Or sometimes we want the fuel nozzles I have shown you. You want to make a sub-millimeter holes. Okay, less than 100 microns, around 100 micron size, 50 micron. So you can generate this kind of holes. Or any hole where EDM recast is not desirable, means if you want to make the hole by EDM process, but EDM, you know, it is a thermal phenomena. It is going to have a recast layer, but wherever, because recast layer may be a brittle in nature, so recast layer may not be permissible in many cases. So those cases we have to go for the ECM based processes. Or say, for example, a die block of a die steel, which is otherwise very hard, or a tungsten carbide block, from which we want to make some kind of a die. So, if we want to cut it by wire EDM, we have to create a starting hole. First, we have to create a hole, pass the wire, then allow it to follow a path. So, starting hole for wire EDM can be created through this process. Then drilling holes for corrosion resistant metals of low conventional machining. Why corrosion resistant metals? Because our electrolyte is acidic. Okay, if we use something with some metals which is not corrosion resistant, probably we will be able to machine, but at the same time the component will get spoiled by vigorous corrosions. So probably like something metals like stainless steel, this process can easily be applied. Okay, so in many cases, like I want to create a somewhere on a bearing. Okay, I want to create a small hole for oil passages. Okay, so there also I can apply this my electrochemical process. We cannot go for EDM based processes like that. Okay, because it may create cracks there. Okay, just a minute. I have now apart from this. Okay, just wait for a minute. I'll unshare this slide and give another slide. So let me just a minute. Okay, just wait for a while. Okay. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So here what will be, I will another shape tube electrochemical drilling is one such process. Typically they are used for the acid resistant material, corrosion resistance material, because we are using a acid electrolyte. Okay, and so something like stainless steel or similar materials we can use. And second thing, we have to cannot use a tool material also. You have to be very careful. So we cannot use a tool material which itself gets corroded by acids like H2SO4. That's why we are using material made of titanium. Titanium is such a material which will be machined, cannot get attacked by sulfuric acid. I think only hydrofluoric acid can be machined affect what you call titanium to that extent. Okay, so these two things you should remember. Okay, electrostream drilling, that is a limitation but advantage also, because usage of acid-base electrolyte will ensure there is no insoluble reaction products in happening, so that yeah, so long as it is in a liquid state, it can easily, because of there is a inside hole which pushes the contaminated electrolyte out of the hole. Okay, and we can always have a fresh electrolyte inside. But had it been with some reaction products, insoluble reaction products, such easy removal or putting the fresh electrolytes would have been difficult. Now, second things we'll be discussing about the electrostream drilling process. What is that? Electrostream drilling process. Okay, in electrostream drilling process, this will be mostly applied for drilling cooling holes in superalloys. What are the superalloys? If I tell you, just name a superalloys, where it is they are applied. Like many times, many of the nickel-based alloys could be super alloys, like Inconel. Okay, there are different grades of Inconel. Okay, they are all superalloys. Okay, then Hest alloy. Okay, that is also a superalloy. Okay, so there have different applications of power generations, turbine making industries, aerospace industries, and so on. Okay, so these small cooling holes can be done by the electrostream hole drilling process. Okay, convention and that negatively charged, what we are doing electrostream drilling process, we are first creating a negatively charged acid electrolyte stream, and this stream impinges on the job at a small distance with a high velocity. Okay, so typically for this process, the whole diameter will range something between 0.127 millimeter, 0.127 millimeter, or 0.89 millimeter. So that is all a sub-millimeter range. That is where this range will happen. In electrostream drilling, electrostream drilling can happen with feed rate, without feed rate, or with zero feed, or with some feed rate. So this is something we are calling with zero feed rate, means it is dual drilling. It is remaining static, maintaining current. So what we have, suppose this is a nozzle. Okay, and this is, from this we have a small maybe glass tube through which you can deliver these things, and this is the job is positive and this is negative. With a fixture, this is connected, this does not change the feed, this distance is constant. Okay, and with this we are allowing the electrolyte to get impinged on the over here. Okay, so this is outside outlet spray, it is coming out like this. This is the electrolyte jet. Okay, and because of this vicinity, they are automatically negatively charged. Okay, these particles are there. Okay, now these negatively charged particles, they gets attracted towards this job and they impinges over here, and because of the potential difference, there will be electrochemical dissolution, quick electrochemical dissolutions over here. Now, this kind of static arrangement can create shallow holes which are less accurate. And also your depth of the hole is limited to certain distance. So workpiece configurations and machine capability does not allow the nozzle movement over here. So typically this is restricted up to 5 millimeter. But remember, in order to create this sufficiently charged particles, okay, it is going to be a very high voltage phenomena. This what you call electrojet, okay, charged electrojet, we apply something between 150 volt to 800 volt. Compared to the earlier process we told you for drilling hole, the shape tube electrochemical machining, that is a low voltage process, something between around 15 volt, whereas this electro stream drilling, it is a high voltage phenomenon. Okay. So other capability wise, this can also be, we can have a finite feed rate. Okay, so in finite feed rate, what do we have these things? Suppose this is the, this is the block which you need to create machine, and this is the hole you have to create. So this is the glass nozzle, very thin glass nozzle. Okay, this moves along with the things, and inside this, because this guides the electrolyte supply onto the job. And here we are using a wire, okay, very conductive wire, and typically we are using something like a brass wire, or not brass wire, we are using a platinum wire for this kind of applications. Okay, this wire is connected to the negative terminal, obviously, and job will be connected to the positive terminal. Here we are using H2SO4 or HCl as the electrolyte. HCl we are using for aluminium and titanium. Okay, and H2SO4 we are using for, say, different grades of steel. Then we can have different cobalt-based alloys. Okay, then we can have stainless steel. All these are for H2SO4s. Okay, and other than platinum also we can use titanium wire, because titanium also have very good corrosion properties. Okay, and individual wires multiple times say this is how we give this voltage, and this also moves, okay, with a finite feed rate. It will move with this kind of wire, will move towards the job as it machines, it will move with some finite feed rate. Okay, so but we have to ensure there is no short circuit over here. So when the apply such a high voltage, the electrolyte charge particle stream, which accelerates the machining rate. Okay, so with this, the depth of machining we can go as high as, say, something even much higher, around 20 millimeter depth is possible. Okay, with very thin, and in one go, suppose we can guide, have say over here fixed with number of copper tubes, glass tubes. This is one glass tubes, and this is one glass tube, this is one glass tubes. Okay, and here we can pass the thin wires through this. Some have guide mechanism which will pushes the wire, so we can create hole in these directions. We can create a hole by pushing the wire further. We can allow this, and it will follow the path of the glass tubes, so that we can create an inclined hole, we can create a straight hole, we can create another inclined hole on the job. So multiple holes whenever required, say when you may require multiple holes, so multiple holes can be created at the same time. Okay, say the whole advantage of electrostream drilling process, okay, will be high depth to diameter ratios are possible. Okay, and many holes can be simultaneously drilled simultaneously, as I have shown you in the previous picture, simultaneously drilling of multiple holes. Okay, and blind and intersecting holes can be machines, means we can go up to certain depth and stop it there. Okay, or sometimes suppose I want, by improvising the tube, I have a small tube through which I pass the wire, and suppose the wire is like this. So suppose I want in this inaccessible areas, I want to drill a hole. So laterally I bend the glass tubes, and since the wear will follow this what you call the shape of the tube, okay, it will be guided by that tube. So wear will follow, and we can laterally attack and electrocommunally dissolve and create this hole on this. Or multiple positions, okay, we can keep on creating holes and different, then I go down further, create an hole. We can go to withdraw the wear, go down further, again create the holes. So we can keep on creating the holes like this. Okay, so here what is happening? You have a centrally, you have a wear made of non-corrosive materials like platinum or titanium. Surrounding it, we have the glass capillary, and this wire electrode, fine wire electrode, gets guided through the glass capillary. This glass capillary reaches up to the job, and through which, of course, the electrolyte flows through these glass tubes, and it impinges, it gets charged because of the high voltage is applied between the job and the tool. Okay, and this negatively charged particles as a high voltage, they quickly react with the workpiece, and we can get this. So results is we can get a bar free holes. Okay, in a micron size we will be able to create, and there won't be, because it is a ECM process, there won't be any recast layer or any other metallurgical defect. Okay, these things will happen over there. So here we can machine various types of hard materials, as I said, like different types of super alloys. Also, we'll be able to machines like carbides, which are done by the powder metallurgy. So those hard materials also can be done and things. And of course, since the size of the hole will be depending upon the wear diameter, using a finer wear and guiding the electrolyte jet onto the job, we'll be able to create a finer hole, very fine hole, say something around 100 micron holes we can create through this process. Okay. So with that,
Sir,
I'll,
can I just
yes.
ask a simple question? The path of the electrolyte then passes outside the glass capillary, right? The exit is via.
No. Electrolyte will flow through the glass capillary. Okay. Electrolyte will be flow through the glass capillary. See, negative charge is connected to the wear. Okay, and your job is positive. So in the tip, actually, and the tip of the wear and the job, you apply a very high voltage. Wire is passing through the glass tube.
But sir, after the reaction, it will exit via, like in the lower diagram, it will exit outside the capillary, right? The flow would be from the
This
inside
kind
through
of
the
hole,
tube.
it doesn't matter, because somehow this is the reaction products, although it is a what contaminated electrolytes, because here you have the fresh electrolyte. Okay, which is entering is a fresh electrolyte, and which is exiting, which is a contaminated electrolyte. And in order to maintain the property and machining rate, always we have to use a fresh electrolyte. Okay, and this particular case we cannot use the contaminated electrolyte again. But since it is a micro level small hole diameter machining, my electrolyte consumption is not that high. But you have to ensure the properties of the electrolyte is maintained. Okay, and here, because of the acid electrolyte, the reaction products are not insoluble. It get dissolves, it may contaminate the electrolyte, and it may exit. That's all. We have collector somewhere where we'll put this thing electrolyte some other tank or so, but we will not recirculate. Okay.
Can you just show the path, exit path of the electrolyte after reaction using a bowl?
Okay. I'll do it. I think I may. Uh, this is a PDF. I think the pen is not there. Just follow my cursor. Are you able to see my cursor?
Yeah, it's visible.
So
It's visible.
electrolyte, in this particular case, electrolyte is going inside the glass tube. Okay. Okay. And it is exiting through this path. Okay. It is a very narrow, but electrolyte flow rate is also very small, because it is a small hole. It will exit through this. In this case, it will come over here and it can exit from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Okay. So it is coming with a higher pressure, and once it exit, the pressure is reduced. Okay. This is balancing with the atmospheric pressure. Okay.
Okay, sir.
The main purpose is this thin wire is dictating the hole size, and the bending the glass tube, it is basically to guiding the wire. Okay, this glass tube is basically guiding the wire, but glass tube is it is going up to this. From there, the wire is dictating the hole, and if anything has to be done, the wire has to be guided inside into the hole and deep further. Means roughly around, say, around 20 millimeter. 25 millimeter holes also can be created, but very thin wire, so that high aspect ratio hole can be created. Okay, and if multiple holes are created, what will happen? Suppose you machine up to put this thing down, this tip down, machine up to this depth, then withdraw the wire, again go back to the next height, then push the wire here, apply the voltage, machine, complete the hole, again withdraw the wire, and again go to the new height like this. Okay. Okay, I think that's all. I think with this I will conclude this electrochemical machining chapter. Okay, let us see. Okay.
So can you just re-explain the back pressure before in the in the special applications of ECM? We first discussed the hole drilling using back pressure, right?
Oh. Let me see in other slides. I think it is there. Just a minute, I have. Is this my slide visible?
No, sir. I think you have to reshare.
I think I have to do that. I'm unsharing and doing it again. Okay. I hope it has come now. Okay, this is the slide you are talking about. Okay, what is happening over here? Say tool is already insulated, so side machining question is not there. But suppose this diameter is how much? Say this is a small hole in this diameter, but inside we have made a small hole to passage of electrolyte, maybe around 2 to 3 millimeter. This inside hollow portion is around 2 to 3 millimeter. Okay, so it is machining. Now here what is happening? Only the frontal portions of the tool, frontal portion, let me, is going to machine it. Okay, so here this is metallic, this is metallic, the central portion is having a small hole. So as the tool comes down, surroundings portions, all other portions of the this job is getting machined, but centrally there will be a small spike which will be relatively not getting machined at the same rate along with the sides. Maybe due to the stray effects, some portions will get machined like this. Okay, so the central spikes is available. So what you will do it normally, how to flatten it out? You withdraw the tool, complete the job, withdraw the tool, then you have another ECM tool of solid cylinder, then bring it closer to this, machine it and level it out. So eventually we are having a two settings, two different level machining, and this have to be removed by some post-processing process. Whereas if we reverse the flow, what is happening? Okay, reversing flow means here we are flowing through this. Okay, electrolyte inlet is there. It is entering through this, and here somehow it is sucked out. Okay, and here what is happening? Here always fresh electrolyte is entering over here, and this is contaminated electrolyte. Okay, and due to this, actually whatever is there, this kind of spikes which were there is there, so much of sharpness will not be there. There will be something because this central portions is not, there is no metal over here. Okay, but because of the electrolyte contamination insoluble nature, this will be slightly leveled out, means that this peak will be slightly machined, okay, and it will come out through this. So that is what you said. The reversal of the electrolyte flow of the electrolyte often produce considerably improve in the machining accuracy. Machining accuracy means this sharpness will be flattened out. But again, if you really want to make it completely flat, probably some post processing is required. Okay.
Understood, sir. Essentially, we reduce the electrolyte flows to increase the machine accuracy. Understood.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's all. I think let us conclude this chapter over here. I think we do not have sufficient time to having a roll call, but I can always check from the teams. Whosoever is present, I will make it is absent. Okay, that I will check from that number of attendance. Okay, that list I will get from the teams and make you attention. Do it on the ERP. Huh? Okay, thank you then. And
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
okay, bye.
Sir,
Hello.
so will it be possible to share the slides of this and electro discharge machining also?
I have already
Uh,
shared EDM. This I will share. EDM already have shared, I think.
Sir, where?
Huh?
Is it in the Moodle or in the Teams? Sir, in the
No,
Teams
no,
I
no,
cannot
no.
see
It's
it.
not good. It is in Teams only.
Okay, sir. I can't see that because.
Okay, I'll just
Uh,
check up.
uh,
I'll just check up.
okay,
Okay,
sir.
this will be
Thank you,
shared
sir.
to you. Okay. Okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Ending meeting. Okay, fine.